welcome to Flat Earth Debate, Uncut and After Show. I'm your host Nathan Oakley, and if you are new to this channel, or you've not done so already, then be sure to subscribe, hit the bell notification icon and join button if you'd like to become a Nathan Oakley 1980 channel member and keep up to date with the Flat Earth Debate. If you would like to support the channel, there is a super chat that runs alongside each of these shows while they premiere, and there's also a PayPal, Patreon and crypto link in the info box below the video. Also, below this video you can get £50 for swapping your UK electricity supplier to Octopus Energy. Speaking of Patreons, I'm going to do a quick shout out to all of you who do support me on Patreon. So a massive shout out of thanks and appreciation to Austin Whitsitt, John Kays, DL Hill, Julian Jeremiah, Maxi Tycan, Michael Kahn, Patrick Gunnels, Banter, Will Brax, Melby Styles, Troy Shuker, Bo Snail, Samson, Maris, Hairy Blade, Mobile Max 777, Neo the One, Lost Cat FE, Open Minded, Del West Watson, Mike, Muted, Dick Earth Skeptic, Maria Neelands, Unbelievable Productions, Blue Ridge Ranger, Rob H, The Real Gabster, Windrider, Liam Nedrick Jr., Abraham Mohammed, Naibai, Adrian Quintana, Skeptic936, Life is Short, Fireball X, TheFlatEarthChannel.com, Texas Mike, Edwin Johnson, and David Wayne Foster. So another massive thank you to all of you for supporting me on Patreon. Now I'm going to hand over to whoever is in Discord and Google so you can enjoy their conversation while I set up for today's live show.
Hey, happy G-Day.
Happy what? I just got the end of that. Obviously not to be repeated.
We here say happy G-Day.
G-Day?
Happy birthday.
Okay. Hello, Neil.
Happy birthday. What was that, Frosty? Every time he came alive, he would say, happy birthday. Or was it Happy New Year? No, happy birthday.
Hey, John.
Happy birthday.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Happy birthday.
Thank you very much. Oh, it's not John.
Hit the super chat.
Yeah, that's right. Hit the super chat if you want to say happy birthday.
I don't think I can expect that of panel members.
Are you saying the chat is not super?
Oh, this chat is indeed super.
Especially yesterday's chat.
What about yesterday's chat?
The citation from Kosho.
Classic. Classic.
What citation? You know, the one you posted? I didn't do that. Oh, you mean the one 2 years ago that I did? Yeah, that one that you said you didn't do. He knew all along. He was just trying to say he didn't say it to the plane, the airplane. But the consequence of what he was saying in that citation would apply to anything, not just an airplane. And of course, they're too much into their denial, being anti-flat earthers, to even see what the consequences are of a position. Like, for example, I stepped out, it was raining. Well, what's the consequences? He would say, I didn't get wet.
I heard it different. I heard it that in his mind, he still thinks that Nathan doesn't understand Coriolis. I'm telling you.
I know. That's total nonsense. That's just their way of attacking the credibility of the person that's...
Really?
Don't play dumb. As if...
Well, I'm just going by what he said. He's like, once again, Nathan, you don't understand. I heard him say that 3 times.
Yeah, you don't understand is the #1 ad hominem from anti-flat earthers, though, isn't it? You just don't understand.
You can't go on this long. I'm sorry. I don't care who you are. You cannot go on this long having the truth put in your face and still be in denial to the point where he was saying the things he was saying. I'm telling you, their mind works different.
Yeah.
So then they can't go on this long if their mind works different.
Exactly. So they're in a subcategory. They're kidding themselves that they're globe believers. And they're not. Like you say, they're different. They're anti-flat earthers, Neil, and they are wired differently to normal people and us.
I was really hoping that he would get Hillbilly on. But that was a whole lie, too. He was never on the phone.
He's a liar.
He's just like a father to me. Well, call him then.
Nathan Oakley never told you what happened to your father. He told me he told me you killed him. No, I am your father.
Very good.
So, how old are you, Nathan?
41.
41.
Did you really have to ask that with a channel like Nathan Oakley, 1980, 10th?
I'll be joining those ranks in 26th. Yeah, the 26th of this month. I'll be 41 also.
Cool.
Well, I have the same birthday as my cousin.
Right. And happy birthday, Nathan.
Thank you very much.
So how's your cousin Vinny?
That would be my cousin Marianne. She's actually doing well.
Anyone in Discord want to wish Nathan a happy birthday?
They already
or
have.
Discuss?
They have
Or
already.
have they?
Yeah.
Let me ask you a fast question before we start the show. I know Nathan will get upset with it, but is there been a law passed about the jab tent that you know of? Unless you have it, you can't go shopping and do any of these things.
No, these are all mandates by authoritarian governors and stuff. There's no law.
Yeah, it has to go through proper procedures for it to be a law, right?
Of course.
Okay.
So the reason Kosho could not affirm the consequences of the citation is because it would destroy his argument. And this is what they always do. When they run into the black swan, it puts to the test their radius of 3959 and destroys the whole calculation, the whole model, and then they have to find a way around it. So yesterday you share his own citation that talks about Earth rotating underneath. So underneath what? And he knows if he answers, he's dead.
I don't think so. I think it just annihilates their whole claim. Forget it. It's over. It's done.
No, we know that. The point is, you're trying to figure out why they don't get it. It's not that they don't get it. It's that if they give the obvious answer, they don't have a position anymore.
Oh, okay, I got you.
Well,
Why do you
his
think I meant-
explanation last night was airplanes flying backwards. As we all know, they don't.
I've been in plenty of airplanes. They've been taxied backwards by a ground vehicle while on the ground, but they've never fly backwards.
Yeah, Kosho recognised that he had to obfuscate the second reference frame, because Blue Marble's disclosed in no uncertain terms that there's only one. So he had to spend, what, 25 minutes obfuscating it, until eventually he detailed that you can observe the object moving straight in the inertial reference frame. And then you quote Blue Marble. Non-inertial reference frame only. One reference frame. Earth does not turn underneath.
But we're not on a spinning reference frame, are we, Nathan?
End quote Blue Marble.
I want to hear from the guy in Discord. So what was the response to him telling the audience that the plane was going backwards?
I couldn't admit it, because on his logic, on the equator, with the airplane and the ground spinning at 1,000 miles an hour, the airplane would take off on average of 200 miles an hour. It couldn't admit it that on that scenario, the airplane will be flying backwards.
You're going to need a
800 miles
radius
an
for
hour.
all of that anyway, aren't you?
Yeah. But he stick to his one reference frame, and then he just switched off from the conversation. We also had as Sergeant Barkley last night. He came in, and he's a retired sniper instructor. So he was sniper for quite some time. He retired being an instructor. And he described that they shoot in every single quadrant, and they never account for Coriolis effect. They can account for anything else, but not for Coriolis. So just another confirmation. Coriolis is not accounted for.
Yeah, we'd notice if things were drifting away from us because they left a spinning reference frame that we're supposed to be attached to. We'd notice the effect. They claim we have the effect. We point out where we don't have the effect. And then we end up in a position where an anti-flat earther will start going against the globe rhetoric that Earth turns beneath.
Hey, can you explain that drop to me one more time that Eli was talking about with the plane? How does that work?
Before you go there, this is the same thing they do when they say they take the measurement from the center of the Earth with the sextant. It's not actually happening, just like the sniper instructor said, well, no, that's not happening. I know that's what they put in the books, but it's not happening. Well, it's the same thing with the sextant. The measurement's taken from the surface, which has to be a plane in order to get the angle. But they put in the books that you're just using your local horizon as far as you can see it, because you're actually transposing it from the center where you can get a vertex to a radius to create the 90. But that's not actually happening. It's always their way of putting something in there that's not happening to cover up what's actually happening.
Okay, just to answer Neil's question, if you've got two planes and they're both scanning each other, obviously if you're on a sphere, the claim is that one has dropped away from you. And that isn't the case. They're both scanning and they're both at the same altitude and they're, you know, on the same plane of elevation. That's basically his point. Fairly simple, actually. Earth's flat, Neil, so there's no drop between the planes. Shocker, right?
Yeah. I did hear that once before, though. I did hear that same thing. Wise ass.
Who is a wise ass?
You.
What, by making it nice and simple to understand?
No, the shocker part at the end. You sound like QE. So big deal, I got it 5 years later.
They've got a way of...
Thing is, I got it.
They've got a way of making the world a sphere from your perspective. Yeah? Well, your perspective, which is ignored in their maths. Same goes for gravity. From your position, only. from your position. Right? So relative to the top of the sphere, things like that. Well, as soon as you introduce a second person that can observe the same thing, if you've got them looking at each other on the ground, what have you got if they're both experiencing 8 inches per mile squared drop from their position? Well, they get around it by saying, well, they're not parallel with each other. Well, in the case of the planes, it's like they are parallel with each other. They're at the same altitude, looking at each other. What do you want? There couldn't be any more at the same elevation. Well, the claim is a drop in elevation if you're on a sphere. It is just that simple. They're not. That's why pilots don't concern themselves with 8 inches per mile squared drop that they've got to encounter and negotiate, because they're not negotiating it.
It's so obvious.
Welcome to Flat Earth Debate Live. I'm your host, Nathan Oakley, and if you are new to this channel, or you've not done so already, then be sure to subscribe, hit the bell notification icon and join button if you'd like to become a Nathan Oakley 1980 channel member and keep up to date with the Flat Earth Debate. If you would like to support the channel, there is a super chat that runs alongside each of these shows while they are live, and there's also a PayPal, Patreon and crypto link in the info box below the video. Also below this video, you can get £50 for swapping your UK electricity supplier to Octopus Energy. Most importantly, if you'd like to join the discussion, simply mute the page you are currently watching, then click the link in the info box below this video to join the panel and express your views on the nature of Earth. If you do join, please don't swear. If you do, you'll be ejected, and if you are, please don't try to rejoin the stream using sock accounts. You'll be warmly welcomed back on the next stream. Please also share the show on social media. Sharing the show obviously increases the live audience, but this in turn increases the chances of a more diverse panel, so please share the show on Facebook and Twitter. One last time, if you're new to the channel or you've not done so already, then be sure to subscribe, hit the bell notification icon and join button to keep up to date with the Flat Earth Debate. Now, we are joined by 10th Man, Neil, Arwin, joining right in the middle of my introduction, of course, and a whole bunch of people on Discord, so welcome one and all.
Morning, morning.
Hello.
Hey, good morning. Happy birthday, Nathan.
Yeah, sorry, Nathan.
Hey, good afternoon. Happy birthday, Nathan.
Thank you. If you're watching live, yes, it's my birthday today. Hence the thumbnail that
Happy
Adam
birthday.
produced. Hope you like the thumbnail. Thank you very much for producing that, Adam. It saves me making one. Excellent stuff.
How are you?
I'm very well. As I say, typically once the live show's over, I then scramble for the next 15 minutes after the live show's going and the after show's running to get a thumbnail that I can use for the after show and use for the live show. And today I don't need to, which is nice, as it's my birthday. Happy days. You do a bit of housekeeping? Yay, we're really keen. Yeah, yeah. Oh, great.
You're 41 now, aren't you?
You need
Yes,
a radius for housekeeping.
We do need that radius for housekeeping, for the most part. Let's bash our way through it then, right? So, any evidence of a physical geometric sphere-edge horizon, formerly known as the curve of the Earth?
You're going to need an R for that.
Feel free to join in Discord.
Only on the globe model.
Good answer. The geometric horizon does only exist in the maths, that is correct. About axial rotation of the Earth-based variety.
Sorry. I was going to say, then you only need a radius for a globe model.
Nobody claimed that spheres had a radius.
I don't need a radius value. Don't you? Yeah. If I'm on a sphere, yeah, you'll need a radius for that.
Or you could try, or you...
That spheres have radius, Nathan. They never claimed that. Sorry.
No, you're
Or
right,
you
Arwin.
could try and prove flat Earth. Flat Earth is debunked by coming on and saying you can prove it without the R value, like some people have tried to do.
Yeah, only to disclose that you're going to beg the question of a sphere and therefore require an R value within the first 5 seconds of speaking after declarations that you don't need R. Yeah, total fail. And then what, an hour of arguing about how you'll be utilising R to refract horizons with R that are derived from horizons that are physical to get R? Yeah, that's what happens when you debunk an R value. You'll be told you don't need it, only to spend an hour arguing about how they haven't got it. Any evidence of the R value? Earth radius.
Black Swan.
You need a sphere for that.
Any scientific evidence of gravity?
You're going to need a radius for that.
What?
Any evidence of the distance to the sun?
Gonna need a radius for that?
Any evidence of a self-perpetuating molten iron core at the centre of a presupposed spherical Earth?
You're definitely gonna need a radius for that.
Can't get around that one, that's for sure.
Okay, well.
You cannot get around without an R.
Round, round, get around, I get around.
Well, to get around something, you would need a radius for that.
It was a little pun.
What about any evidence that you can have gas pressure without the necessary antecedent of a container to press upon?
Well, even if you have a radius for that, that's still gonna not work, so...
Yeah, you're going to need a radius for that as well.
You do? How?
Yeah, sphere air.
How do you
Atmosphere.
need a
radius.
Nobody
For
mentioned...
gas
I was waiting for that.
pressure.
Sorry, you fell into that trap. Nobody mentioned atmosphere, though, did they?
Exactly.
For
What do you mean? It would have to be.
We covered. I didn't cover this yesterday because we were going to dig into it with the any viable hypothesis from any of the fields of astronomy, cosmology, or astrophysics. Feel free to check out what show number is it today? I've lost track. I don't know. I think I probably put the wrong number on today's show. Oh well, I'll adjust that later.
1471 today, I believe.
Check out 1470 if you want to hear the reasons why you can't just respond. You'll need an R when asked if there's any single viable hypothesis from any of the fields of astronomy, cosmology, or astrophysics. And further to that, you can't just say they'll need an R for that answer either. There's a good chance they'll need an R for that answer, but I don't think you can leave it as open-ended. But that was yesterday. Today is today. Gas pressure without a container. No mention of atmosphere, just a request to show gas that presses, not pressing.
I have an alternative formulation, potentially, although gas pressure without a container is still better. But I like to ask in chats sometimes, show me gas in a sphere shape without a sphere-shaped container.
Perfect. Yeah, I asked the same thing. Yeah, show me sphere-shaped air. An oxymoron. Air
But
isn't
without a
sphere-shaped.
sphere-shaped container.
Well, air isn't
Right?
sphere-shaped. You're right, Arwin. To have a sphere, to have gas in the shape of a sphere, it will be in a sphere-shaped container, like a balloon. That's how you have sphere-shaped air. But it's in a container. So to say atmosphere, what's that? Well, it's air that just arbitrarily takes the shape of a sphere in violation of natural law in a vacuum. You go, no. It takes the shape of its container, therefore it's an oxymoron to assert a shape when talking about gas. Gas has no inherent shape.
That wouldn't work anyway because
Indeed.
they say we're in an open system. And if you had a sphere-shaped container, you wouldn't be an open system.
Right, but they don't. They say atmosphere, just arbitrarily taking the shape of a sphere. That's what atmosphere, atmo, air, sphere, fundamentalist religious presupposition. But standing directly in violation of natural law. Gas isn't expanding out to fill the space. It's arbitrarily taking a sphere shape when gases have no inherent shape. Oxymoron, atmosphere.
Yeah, when your position is fallacious, there's like 20 different ways one can destroy it.
Indeedy weedy. Shout out to Paula, level up, formerly Bible literalist. He says, please, sir, I want some R. Oliver Twisted. Love it.
Great one.
Thank you for the super chat, Paula. I really appreciate the support. Paula's actually one of my mods. Not often the mods give you super chats, but thank you, Paula. I really do appreciate it all the same. So that's it. That wraps out the housekeeping. Essentially, for the most part, 75%, say, of the questions can be answered with "you'll need R" for that.
How about any viable hypothesis from astrophysics? Except you do it.
We covered that yesterday.
What?
That's what we covered yesterday.
So we're not covering that today?
Well, I've mentioned that the question's been asked and that you can't just answer you need R for that. You can say there's a good chance you'll need R for that. In other words, should they come back with a hypothesis, highly unlikely, then there's a 99% chance that they're going to have R in it as a presupposition.
Yes. Well, if it's actually going to be in their supposed field, right? Then definitely.
The way I see it is the disciplines themselves, they need R in order to work.
Yeah, it's a fair statement. But when we ask for a hypothesis, we can't just say, you'll need R or they'll need R for that, because they might not. There's a chance. It's not like every single claim to be globe proof will always start with the presupposition that you're on a sphere. That is 100% true. But in terms of whether or not an astrophysicist could come up with a viable hypothesis at all is unlikely. But if they did, they wouldn't necessarily have to have R in that hypothesis. So you can't just say, oh, they will need R for that, because they might not. So yeah, it's just a bit of Weasley wordage, and it's not necessary anyway. You're opening up somebody to say, yeah, I've got science, and then you hear their science. Chances are it'll have R in it, and you can point that out when they do.
Just a quick definition from Wikipedia. Astrophysics is a science that employs the methods and principles of physics in the study of astronomical objects and phenomena.
Is that all of them? Is that every housekeeping question so far? I believe it is. Well, that concludes housekeeping.
Yeah, it goes by quick when the answer is you need R for that.
It does indeed. I've got no issue with that, because there's been a few times that you don't even get to do housekeeping once you've got past the first question. But from here on in, the moment somebody says you'll need R for that, I'm moving on.
No, I like it because we got into the habit of rehashing the reasons why, rather than just saying that and then waiting for an anti-flat earther or a baller to come and defend their R that doesn't exist.
Exactly. I've got no issue with people drawing a close to any of the housekeeping questions, with the couple of exceptions we've just detailed over the last couple of days, with you're going to need R for that. But just be aware that I'm talking to you three, really, on the panel more than anybody else, that does actually bring a close to that particular conversation. So if someone's keen to talk about one of the fundamentalist religious assertions that we've got gravity for the sake of argument, and that's looking to be discussed by, I don't know, whoever, Anthony Riley, most likely, don't just cut it off by saying you'll need R for that. Like, hold on, he might want to actually talk about how somebody's begged the question as an interesting anecdote.
Well, it's amazing that the anti-flat earthers and the ballers themselves don't come and debate the question, because they're the one that's needing it. And if they're on the show and they don't pipe in, but just stay in chat, that tells you they have nothing to offer.
Nathan, a question. Question on gravity.
I'm not really the expert on gravity, but feel free.
Now, just when you're obviously talking to ballers or anti-globers or whatever, anti-flat earthers, they always mention gravity. That's the cause. They got the evidence behind it, 95%. So that's what they believe in. Would you agree with that?
Would I agree that they all claim gravity? Sure.
Yeah, they claim gravity for most of the things. Why can't they claim it if the evidence is 95% near enough?
Sorry, what's the phenomena? Were you here yesterday? When we were
I'm just
talking
saying, when they claim it, they claim it's 95%. They've got the evidence behind it. So there you go. There's gravity.
Well, hold on. You've not given
What
any.
would be
though.
your response to that?
What's the evidence? Is my response to that.
Things falling.
I'd let go of a helium balloon. Gas expands in all directions. No.
Well, when I say that, when I put that across to them, they just say, yeah, it's gravity.
What? Going down 9.8 meters per second when
Yeah,
gas
that's
expands.
what they say. Yeah, exactly that.
Right, but gas isn't doing that, is it? It's expanding in all directions.
And that's what I say to them. But they know it's gravity. We've got the evidence behind it. It's 95% correct. It's the theory. That's it. It's gravity.
Okay, well, you being stonewalled when you debunk something, I can't help you with. Yeah,
Okay.
If you've watched the show, a solid hour can be spent on someone stonewalling a rebuttal that has demolished their claim, and then rather than conceding their claim, they repeat their claim, or take the response and turn it into part of their claim that you've made because you've debunked their claim. So they say gravity is down 9.8 meters per second squared. Everything goes down. You give them an example of something going up, and they'll go, that's gravity too. Like you've told me, right?
Yeah, correct. And then we got onto a conversation about a slinky. So when you hold a slinky in your hand and you let go, where does it fall from? It falls from the top all the way down, correct?
Not exactly. If you let go of a slinky, it'll compress itself, I think, in both directions, which, if you were filming it, makes it look like the bottom is static as the top of the spring recoils back to its original rest position, and once it's there, it then drops to the ground.
Yeah, correct, yeah.
So it looks like it's suspended in the air after being dropped.
Yeah, and it's not pulling from the bottom either, is it?
No, but regardless of what a slinky does, gravity, if you're asserting centre of M1 Earth is going to attract the mass of other masses, well, gas has mass and it's not doing that. So you don't need to get into... I mean, fine, yeah, talk about the slinky, but, you know, you can just show something with mass not doing that, and that's the end of the conversation. I know it's not the end of the conversation for an anti-flat earther, because they still want it to be real.
Yeah, it never is. It never is. It just keep going on and on.
So we're descending to slinkies now. Slinkies. Great.
Well, I'm saying no. I'm saying no. You just use gas, which expands to fill the volume. Not down, go boom boom. 9.8 meters per second squared. Gas is not falling down, go boom boom like bouncy balls, is it?
No, not at all.
Right. So therefore,
I'm just going to stick to gases.
Sure, but that force that they describe. So Earth has got a force that's pulling other masses towards it because it's such a big mass. Yeah, that's bollocks. So immediately refuted by showing stuff with mass, that would be gas, not moving to the centre of Earth. Moving away from it. Expanding out, away. So that's the end of that.
Their answer to that is that it's not as strong. It's a weaker force, but it is a force.
Yeah, it's not a force at all. So that's superseded 106 years ago by Einsteinian bending pseudo-Ramonian force space-time. And that's an effect, according to them, caused by the uneven distribution of mass in pseudo-force space. So it's no longer a force at all.
May I ask this gentleman a question?
They would keep on saying it is a force.
Hang on, let me ask you a question.
Hold on, 10th, hold on. Yes, so their response is, but it's still a force. But unicorns are still real, is their response.
Pretty much.
Right, you can't help, that's called chanting. So they chant, gravity's a force, gravity's a force, gravity's a force, gravity's a force. Yeah, that's called chanting.
When they said to you it's a weaker force, what were they ascribing that weaker force to?
So they were saying like it still acts on the gas, but it's just a weaker force, and it pulls it slowly. If that makes sense.
Okay, so this gravity that's strong enough to hold oceans has like a fader switch on a light box that when it comes to gases, it goes down to where it becomes a weaker force because it's not pulling the water, trillions and trillions of gallons of water.
Forget about all that. You need a radius. Where's the radius for this gravity?
Hang on, we know that. We're discussing it within the begging the question here. So when they say that, it's like gravity to hold the oceans down would have to be so strong that it would affect you and me. We wouldn't be able to lift our feet.
Well, you say that to them, and they just hand wave it, dismiss it, and just go back to it's gravity. It's madness, absolute madness.
No, that's why you say next. Thank you, Neil.
Perfect. Thanks.
When you get to or point out that they're chanting, rinse and repeat is just chanting. Say it over and over and over again. Ignore all responses. That's zealotry. But yeah, kind of happy with chanting from fundamentalist religious zealots. Just at that point, recognise what you're dealing with. You're dealing with an anti-flat earther. They want to argue with you round and round in circles about how gravity's a force and convince you that it is when you've got their own side, their own astrophysicists, making it absolutely explicitly clear that it's not a force. But they need it to be a force, don't they? Why? Well, because without it being a force, go down, go boom, boom, 9.8 metres per second, they can't hold gas here. And when you go, gas isn't going down though, is it? They go, yeah, it is. It's still held by a force. What, the force of down 9.8 metres per second towards the centre of M1? Number one, as Neil's pointed out, you'll need a radius for that. And number two, gas isn't doing that. So saying, well, it is still doing it. No, it literally isn't. It's moving away from the mass of Earth. Because it comes out of the ground and then goes up. Shout out to Udada, Y-U-D-A-D-A. He says, in a full bus, the centre of gravity in the stomach of the fattest person. What? In a full bus, the centre of gravity is in the stomach of the fullest or fattest person. Okay. Thank you very much for the super chat, Udada. Thank you very much. I appreciate the support. I didn't really understand what you were talking about. So it was definitely a fat joke in there.
I can't stomach it, though.
I'm deeply offended. It's 25% fat.
I'm trying to get Vic DiBitetto in here.
Who?
His name is Vic DiBitetto. He's a comedian. Lives in New Jersey, but he thinks he's got this great knowledge of why the Earth is not flat. So I'm inviting him. So maybe we'll get lucky one day. He'll come on.
Oh,
must be joking.
What a character!
Good, because if he's a comedian, he's going to be a globe believer first and foremost, right? And probably, hopefully, a good laugh to chat to, as opposed to a fundamentalist religious zealot chanting their shit over and over again.
No, he will definitely be fun. He just takes, what we all learned in school, How could the Earth be flat if we have eclipses and, things like that?
Perfect. Yeah, he's a glober. A proper, true glober, then.
Still gonna need R to be a comedian on the globe.
On a globe, yeah. That's true. So Neil's basically figured out, because he's been told that the R, asking for R, is the end to almost all arguments, right? So he's like that guy in the prison with the little shank that knows that, well, I can end all of these arguments. Just go knife the guy in the back.
Why even bother?
Yeah, Neil's carrying the R shank around. It's rusty, it's covered in blood. And he's happy to use it.
Well, it cuts through all the nonsense, doesn't it?
Yeah, it's a shame Chocolate or some of the gamers aren't here to give us a nice parallel with some super force in some game. Any gamers in the Discord server? Clearly not. I'm sure there's some gamers that will leave me some comments saying, oh yeah, there's this character that's got this superpower and it just basically puts an end to the battle on the spot.
Righteous plays games.
He's not in the... He's actually in the queue, presumably doing something. I don't know what he does. I don't know how Discord works.
He's playing a game, Nathan.
Probably playing a game, yes. But he's in the queue. He's not in the actual stream, so he can't hear you.
Oh, it was good to hear from Sleeping Warrior yesterday.
I hear from Sleeping Warrior almost every day.
Oh, you're privileged.
I am. I do feel that way when he phones, or I phone him. It's typically to talk about something fairly mundane. So today he was very proud that he'd painted a handle, like a door handle. So he wanted to let me know. We talked about that for about 10 minutes. I was very proud of him.
Wait
he
a
was proud of
second.
himself.
So you have like a neighbor relation type thing going.
Time out. What was he? He painted a doorknob?
Yeah. Well, he didn't just paint it, Neil. I mean, he had to remove it, sand it. He got the wire wool on it. He got his rotary sander on it. He even bought a new tool for when he does the next one, or the hinges. You know, this is important stuff we had to talk about.
I guess that would be like me doing his egg experiment. I would be all excited about that.
No, it's more like he's restoring a house, a mobile home, and he's fixing different parts. He put a deck on it. Now he took something that was in bad shape and cleaned it up, and he's showing his restoration work. That's all. It's like someone working on their car and saying, "Look what I did. It used to look like this. This is what it looks like now."
He does that
Nathan
too.
did that.
Exactly.
Nathan did that.
Exactly.
Yeah, I'm having a hard time, but it's just a doorknob. I mean, give me a wall, a doorknob, going into like another area, and then I'd be like, wow, nice.
Really, Neil? You can't handle this?
Look, if the unions can't get involved, Neil's not interested. Another shout out to you, Dada. He just gives me money. Thank you very much. He or she, don't know, but thank you very much. Everyone's off mute in Discord. Hopefully we'll get some chit chat out of people, although it looks like it's full of flat earthers at the moment.
Well, yeah, I mean, the black swan has killed them so bad they don't show up anymore because they know what they're going to get here. So they go to the other shows that tolerate the begging the question and the endless repetition of fallacies. I mean, all they got to do is come here and show us R, and we'll change our mind, right?
Yeah, they allowed Narnia and other places.
Yeah, but at least we're honest. If you can show us Earth curvature that matches the 3959, which is the black swan motor stolons, then we can be ballers like you.
Yeah, that's not possible though, is it? Given that we've demonstrated beyond all certitude that the horizon's not a physical limitation, they can't ever go back and correlate the horizon with Earth curve again. That's not a possibility anymore. So where they're going to get it from?
Well, the high priest says that it's flat. That stuff is flat. Well, it's not supposed to be. We're supposed to see curvature.
Okay, there might be some newbies in the audience that don't recognise what we're talking about. So if you're, as I say, new to this subject and a globe-believing normie, there's nothing wrong with that. Then you are under the misapprehension that the horizon, if you look out at a beach, is Earth curve, a physical limitation to your view based on the leading edge of the sphere obstructing things behind it. Well, that is false. We've debunked it. If it was a physical limitation to your view, the leading edge of a sphere from which you could not see behind, then it would have those geometric limitations all the time. Furthermore, that geometric limitation that it is claimed to be when you assume that it's a limitation to your view when you look out at the horizon is where they derive the R value from to make the assertion in the curve mathematics. Ergo, you can't then move that position. It has to be set in stone, a la your radius value, on a rock would be, not is, literally stone, set in stone, because it's a rock. So you're not going to have it physically changing one day to the next. So when you show the horizon beyond its physical geometric limitations, it's no longer capable of derivation of the R value. You can't measure it. It's not a physical place to measure. Just a quick shout out to Udada again. How the molecules decide where the centre of gravity is in a full bus. What's with buses? It is in the stomach of the fattest person. Thank you for the further super chat to bring clarity to your fat joke. How the molecules decide where... Go on, whoever.
Oh, I didn't mean to interrupt. I was... After your super chat, I want to add something.
No, I'm reading it for the second time because I can't decipher it. It's a fat joke in there about molecules and gravity. I'm just not making it humorous, and I'm reading it terribly. But really appreciate the support, you Dada. Thank you very much indeed. I'm sure somebody's got clarity or will give it to your super chat, I'm sure.
While you guys are on the new guys topic and like how the new guys perceive things, because I remember yesterday we were like at a gathering somewhere on another Discord, and how new guys, they have this interesting programming, like, you know, they can see the curve from an airplane, right? That the horizon is the curve also, even when you're on ground level, or that you can see the Earth curving from like pretty close to ground level, right? And because, you know, once they get into it and they look more into it, then they switch the position to, no, you can't see the horizon curving from an airplane, right? Once they're not so new anymore. And it just kind of reminds me, like, I remember in high school, like a teacher saying to me, you can see the Earth curvature from like a tree. And for some reason, I don't know why I started buying it. I guess after a certain point, when you get to high school, you start buying a lot of things they say in school. And I kind of somehow incorporated that into like my memory, and that you can't see the curve from a tree. I remember the first time somebody mentioned FE, I was like, yeah, you can see it from a tree. As ridiculous as that sounds. So I just wanted to point this out because some of these ideas that are out there.
It is useful. Let me address it though. The first three things you listed, that would be seeing it from a tree, seeing it out of the horizon, whatever, I can't remember where you listed the second place, and then seeing it up at altitude from a plane, right? All three things are the same thing. So what you're saying is when people get into this, if I'm summarising incorrectly, just tell me, righteous. When they get into it, they go from saying, I can see Earth curve from the window of a plane, to then understanding that they can't. Well, the two things are the same. So they're being trained in doublespeak. You can't see the curve from a plane. No. Earth curves the horizon, and it doesn't matter where you can see the horizon from, it's claimed to be Earth curve. So from the ground, if you're at the beach, lying down at the beach, and you look out towards the horizon, that's Earth curve claimed to be your physical limitation to your view. That's what the horizon is in Earth curve religious belief. Therefore, going up in a plane and looking at the horizon is just you looking at Earth curve again. Now, the fact that it is an Earth curve means that you've quickly got to detract people away from the fact that, oh no, the limitation to your view that has this optical effect of wrapping around you 360 degrees, not dropping away on the edges, as a sphere would do if it was geometrically actually curving away from the window of an aeroplane. Well, that means that you can't see Earth curve. You're not high enough. You're like, what do you mean you're not high enough? The horizon is claimed to be Earth curve. You don't have to be more than an inch off the ground so long as you can see it. That's you seeing it. But it isn't really Earth curve, is it? So they have to train you in doublespeak. We fall victim to it all the time. The horizon rises to eye level. No. The horizon is eye level. It's the limitation formed optically by the lens of your eye. And a camera or whatever else you view the horizon with. And it can vary based on the focal length and the size of the aperture and all the other things that go into making a lens. But those limitations have got nothing to do with geometry and a sphere being beneath your feet. But it doesn't change the fact that regardless of where you view it from, high or low, and it was actually, now I'm saying this, chocolate, righteous, it was you that said to me the other day, oh, that really triggered something in me when you said, oh no, it's the same exact thing when you go up high and claim you can see the horizon. It's still Earth curve. It's the same thing, right? And you were like, oh yeah, that really resonated with me. But now you're saying that once you get into the back and forth of what flat Earth versus globe Earth leaves you believing, you suddenly go from a globe believer that's like looking at the horizon from a plane going, I can see Earth curve, to what I was as a globe believer, having looked into globe Earth and the rhetoric, thinking, no, I can't see Earth curve from this high. I've got to go higher. It's like, you're still looking at the horizon though, aren't you? Why would I tell myself that? Well, because I was already on the path to be trained in doublespeak, to correct people. Oh, you can't see Earth curve from a plane. It's too low. You need to get much higher to see Earth curve. It's like Earth curve's the horizon. If you can see it, you claim to be looking at Earth curve. Just isn't, is it?
Right.
Hello, Adam.
Well, it's the same thing. It's the same thing when they taught you about Coriolis. They said it's water going down the drain. Different hemispheres, it goes the opposite way.
I remember that, Neil. First of all, happy birthday, Nathan.
Thank you very much for the thumbnail. Awesome.
I thought you needed one. Yeah. That was one of the first, Neil, seeing the South American bloke kind of take his little sink and move it one side of the equator and pour the water in, throw the leaf in and watch it spin one way and then do the reverse on the other side. And hopefully you not notice him pouring the water in the other way this time and then throw the leaf in and it spin the other way. That was one of the first things you looked at because they were one of the, when you were, well, just an old baller being introduced to flat earth, they're one of the things that you casually accept as one of these things. It's not something you want to inquire. It's just that those are things that happen. Otherwise, why would Australians go the other way? You know what I mean? So you have this myth put in you, and it is one of the things you accept and then give yourself a big face palm when you realise you believe that nonsense.
Well, the problem with that particular description is that they describe it as Coriolis. Look, the Coriolis force, here's how it's visible and shows how it affects, this is akin to the hurricane example, but water going down a drain on the different sides of this arbitrary line derived from the movement of the sun. Yeah, you move this little dolly 3 inches this way and look, the water goes the other way. Well, Coriolis effect, which is what those demonstrations are labelled as, would only be observable if you were in the water swirling down the drain. So if you're in the water, basically that water with you swirling around in it becomes the non-inertial rotating frame of reference. Now obviously it relies for the effect to be a force that you wouldn't notice as you spinning around, would require you to look at a tree branch that's hanging over the top of that demonstration as you're swirling down the drain, look like it's coming towards you, when in fact you're swirling towards it in a whirlpool. Well, that's Coriolis effect if it's going to be described in that way. You've got to be part of a rotating platform turning beneath things to see them seem to drift. So the only way that's translatable is you swirling down that drain. So an ant might be able to experience the Coriolis deflection if it was swirling down that drain.
And on a lollipop stick rafting would it look like you was coming towards him and going away, coming towards and going away.
Exactly. Or for the ant, if it was spinning around in the whirlpool and you happen to throw a ball over the top of the sink, you'd go, oh, look at that ball, it took a curved path. Yeah, it's not. It's you turning underneath it, Mr. Ant, in your whirlpool.
Nathan, let me interject a correction. You have today's show labeled as 1470, so I may have got it wrong. So
No,
yesterday's show would have been 1469.
No, it wasn't. Yesterday was definitely 1470. I'll just change the number.
Okay, you got it.
Then I'll read out Retro Bill's super chat once I've done this. But yeah, as you say, Adam, what would compel anybody to get a really thorough understanding of Coriolis deflection? You just hear somebody say, oh, here we go, this happens on this side of the equator and this happens on the other side, and you go, oh, right, that's a fascinating demonstration.
Yeah, because you've got no reason at that, certainly for me, at that point, I had no reason to think, that's just so fake. Do you know what I mean? It's just presented there as that's what the world does. Not something I've witnessed the drain spin. I've never witnessed it in Australia to see if it was the opposite, but you don't, back then, you don't expect people to be blatantly lying. You expect these things to be validatable, don't you? And have been validated. Not, it's just a tourist trick.
That's the problem. Right, exactly. Up until that point, the majority of people go about their general day-to-day lives under the misapprehension that most people are honest and good and not out to deceive them. That's why I kept talking about George Carling, because he keeps talking about how people, or did, bullshit, non-stop, all the time, right? And that goes all the way to the top. Piles, mountains, tirades of bullshit. And that's what we're dealing with, right? Now, if you come across the subject like Flat Earth and go, oh, hold on a second, you mean the entire nature of the reality we're supposed to be taking part in isn't as we're told on a daily basis? Oh my God, I wonder how much other bullshit there is. Yeah, there's a lot. Yeah, but that's quite scary to a lot of people, because they're like, oh my God, what else is bullshit? Probably whatever it is you're thinking about right now that you were led to believe. Yeah, that's scary, isn't it? Not for me, but for you, certain type of person. Just read out Retro Bill super chat. Thank you very much indeed, Retro Bill, for the super chat. I was going to prove globe Earth without our yawn, but I'd rather wish you a happy birthday. Yawn. Thank you very much for the super chat, Retro Bill. That's a nod to a guest we had on a few days ago, that every time he was asked a really difficult question like, well, where'd you get the R value then? He'd go, oh, where do I get the R value? Oh, I'm suddenly really tired.
Yeah,
Very
I was
amusing.
laughing out loud at one of them
Say again?
when you first replied. I remember the first time you replied with a yawn. I was laughing out loud. It caught me off guard.
Well, I didn't react
Yeah,
at
that
first.
really annoyed me.
Well, that's the point. So 2 or 3 people latched onto it and started telling him off for being rude. It's like, that's the point. Let's get a few more people involved. They need this. That was a tactician, you know. Again, when I was like, you know all the arguments, you know all about my emails, you claim it's your first time here, yet essentially I'm hinting at the fact that he's clearly a tactician in this debate and is well versed and well studied in it. And he was like, I don't know what you're implying. Yeah, right.
I like your imitation though, and your skills, Nathan. That was very good how you imitated him. Had me cracking up.
I'm a trained actor.
That's right.
You hear that, Pete? You hear that, Pete?
Pete knows. Doing something in your teenage years at college, and then suddenly, 30 years later, it's, ooh, really? Actor? Yeah, I was a bum. I might as well say I went to art school.
Well, we have a sleeping warrior on our side, and I've never heard him yawn.
I have. Many times. I was discussing...
Not in a debate, as a tactic.
Oh, no, most certainly not. No, but I've been privy to his snoring on a few occasions when Chris and Monk would be up to all sorts of hours modelling in Blender, and Anthony would be there. I'd be fascinated asking various questions and running models of simulations of heliocentrism, because it was fascinating to actually see it functioning as an actual model. But anyway, I digress. And you'd be discussing something and then you'd hear, I wonder what that noise was. Be Anthony's head hitting the desk with his mic open and then snoring. It'd be really funny.
He looks like a snorer.
To be fair, though, I mean, he's just a normal guy. I'm a bit of an insomniac. So Chris and I, he was obviously on a different timetable in Canada.
Morning, guys.
I was about to say, did somebody just join? Hello, Chocolate.
Okay.
Yo, yo.
We were just talking about you getting triggered by the guy yawning, and then, you know, it sounds really horrible. That's why I'm stuttering away over saying this, because I'm basically saying, look, you've fallen victim to a little ploy. You know, their ploy being, if I can get a few more people involved, it's easier to blame the audio chaos on others. And in fact, at one point, he even told you lot off, which was very funny. I swore at him at the time, but deep down I was smiling.
Oh no, I was in the middle of telling so I just wanted to tell him just stop with the cornball snoring shit, like the yawning shit. Like what are you doing? I wasn't gonna focus on that. Just stop being silly and respond to the questions being asked. Like I don't care about you yawning. That's just corny.
I was yawning all the time he was talking, but I had the manners to mute so it wouldn't be heard.
What do you mean?
Like how ridiculous is that? You already don't know your own arguments, and then you're gonna yawn in the middle of your own arguments that you don't know. Like what the hell? Ridiculous.
Well, that's what the Black Swan did. That's the best they got. Is a yawner.
No, we gotta put the yawning and the drunken guys together and make a character.
I call him a freaking Snorlax.
Yeah, I want to focus on the almost came to fruition Battle of the Titans in terms of globe assertions that we turn underneath stuff to see drift, and there's only one reference frame. There is no drift to observe. Earth doesn't turn underneath. I mean, while it was tongue-in-cheek to a certain extent yesterday with Kosho, I fully did not in any way anticipate that he would get in touch with Blue Marble Science and get him on the show, despite that's precisely what he said he would do. I didn't expect that to come to fruition, and it didn't. Nevertheless, the point remains the same. You know, we are genuinely impartial in that regard, because we don't need reference frames, right? When I was 12, 18 months ago, saying it to Simon Dan, we don't need reference frames, do we, Simon Dan? You do. Well, you? Wrong. He's an anti-flat earther, so he tells me that I don't understand reference frames, and we've only got one. That's what he does as an anti-flat earther. But I don't have any reference frames. That's the point here. But Blue Marble, same thing applies, and you can juxtapose it with whoever you like. Kosho, Neil deGrasse Tyson, any citation that's describing Earth turning beneath whatever they're describing it turn beneath. You know, they've got two different positions on the globe side. And as I pointed out to Kosho, that's not our problem. We're not claiming spin. We don't need reference frames. You are. You've got claims of spin in both instances, just with very different views about how that's not demonstrated with one reference frame, not observable with one reference frame, nothing to see here, one reference frame. That would be Blue Marble and Simon Dan. Or something to see here, drift, two reference frames. Thing travelling straight unless you're travelling underneath it on the second reference frame to cause deflection, Coriolis effect. Those two positions are mutually exclusive. You can't have both. And that's a problem for globe believers and anti-flat earthers who have contrasting views to one another. And I want to see them fired out.
So do I. Wait, you guys tell me Hurricane Kosho showed up here yesterday?
Say again, Chocolate.
Hurricane Kosho
Yes,
showed up
Hurricane
here
Kosho.
yesterday? Oh man, I missed it.
Yeah,
he says that there's an infinite number of reference frames and we're in all of them all at once.
Oh, that was just an obfuscation to get around the fact that I was asking him to confirm his actual claim of two reference frames, inertial and non-inertial. Eventually he did, but then he had to very quickly say, well, no infinite reference frames. It's like he doesn't remember that I went round those do-si-dos for about a year solid with Zanuck. Yeah, not my first rodeo.
Yeah, Zanuck was the second time. Kosho was around before Zanuck, so we had already drug him through the ring before Zanuck showed up with his nonsense.
Kosho had to be reminded of the Thought.co article.
He must have been like, damn it, Chocolate.
Said he didn't give us a citation. Said, I've never given you that. I've not given you any citation.
He gave that directly to me. So
yeah, that was exactly. That was pointed out to him, and then he said, oh, you mean the one I gave to Chocolate?
Oh yeah, there you go.
He's just a liar.
These poor guys.
I have to have a word
Wrong
with
with
QE because he was sort of, gonna say apologetic for him. So I'm like, you're an outright liar, and I'm sick of it now. People who come here and waste an hour not confessing to having 2 reference frames when they're claiming Earth turns beneath pendulums and Earth turns beneath wind. You know, those are 2 reference frames, but not being able to admit it because they know damn well that it's now been made explicitly clear by Blue Marble that he's claiming 1 reference frame. So that means he's got to dance around. Normally, that's tolerable until they start lying. I didn't give you a citation. Yeah, you did, you liar. I didn't say 2 reference frames. Where in my citation did it say 2 reference frames? That was discussed for about 20 minutes, only for him to later claim he didn't give us any citation. Liars.
Yeah, what was that all about?
Lying. It's just lying. And I'm sick of it.
No, I was wondering about QE. He came in a few times and looked like he was trying to make an excuse for him.
Well, that's what I'm saying. I'll have to have a word with him and see what that was all about. I mean, after the fact, I was like, well, here's an example where he's just blatantly lying. And he didn't put up any resistance. He was like, yeah. But I haven't spoken to him since. Other than him asking me why I haven't mirrored something. As he does. Certain videos that I get involved with and go, yeah, I like that. That's good, that. For example, the Blue Marble video. And I think it was MC Tune. Or it might have been Slice Barcane. I can't remember. There's a whole bunch of them. But I might have said in passing at one time, oh, I'd like to mirror that. Now when there's one that I've looked at in advance or got involved with in somehow, it's like, you're going to mirror that? Like, oh, I have to do the thumbnail during the after show because there's no other time to do it. I'm sure I'll work it in on my birthday for you, QE, because it's that important if you're listening.
Is it your birthday today?
Yeah, was the subtle thumbnail not enough to let you know that?
I didn't see any thumbnail.
It says happy birthday on it. I put it on there.
Well, that's the
Go on.
That's the gravity of everything, right?
Gravity of what now? What's that?
Being your birthday. It's the gravity of being your birthday.
Yeah, it's not an important birthday, really. So, when Paula asked, not my wife, but Paula, Bible literalist now, level up, was like, what do you want to do? Because I was like, should I do a show? Should I work? It's my birthday. She's like, do the thing that you want to do. I was like, well, I want to do my show. I'll do my show. So here we are.
Now, that's a good question, because I need some clarity on birthdays. What is an important one besides your first birthday? I agree. I throw a big party for all my kids on their first birthday. What's the criteria after that? Do I have to go to a 40th birthday party? Really?
Marketing, presents, money, economy, spend money.
I don't know.
Well, no. I'm sorry. 50th, yeah.
If you're in the States, 21. If you're in Europe, 18. And then from then on, any whole number. 30, 40, 50.
I'm sorry. Sweet 16 for girls, yes. I agree with that.
About Sweet 16, maybe. But certainly 18.
Well, regardless, happy birthday, Nate.
18 here because you're officially adult. You've reached adulthood. You can do all the adult things. And in the States, I think there's certain things you can't do till you're 21, like drink in certain states. So for that reason, over in the States, 21 is celebrated in the way it's 18 here.
Look, there's the real reason that people celebrate it, because they're giving honor to the person that was born so many years ago. And then there's the business side of it. I'm just sharing the business side of it. They want every birthday, every year going on because you got birthday cards, balloons, helium. They can sell a lot of things. Come on.
Okay.
I know we're heading towards 3 now, so just a little birthday miscellany. In the past, we've talked about films and stuff.
Stop. New word. Miscellany. What does that mean?
It's just like trivia. Fun facts, I think. That's how I would use it. I'll have to look it up now.
Miscellany is something interesting about the thing you're about to talk about.
Like miscellaneous.
Oh, okay. Gotcha.
It could be
Like gravity being
exothermal, too.
natural law.
Miscellany meaning a group or collection of different items, a mixture. Yeah, that's where I used to get it from. The journal used to have Christmas miscellany, so it would just have a mixture of different facts. But
Yeah.
this
Cool,
is
thank you.
related to movies, because I always said, "Oh, space films annoy me," unless they're really fantasy. Well, last night I watched Fast and the Furious 9, which you may not think is a space film. I didn't think it was going to be. But there are a number of bits in it which I'd urge people to go and watch and just spot. First one's a bit where they basically bodged together a car to go to space to take a satellite out. The funniest one, what's his name? Roman, he's driving it. And basically they're in these homemade suits that the dodgy rocket scientists put together, and they're like diving suits reversed. So he's saying to him, don't worry, they're exactly the same as NASA's, they're just going to expand a little bit more. And you see him in his face later, someone on the space station goes, oh my god, it looks like Minions. So they're demonstrating the gas pressure. There's a beautiful shot, because like I said, they've got divers bell helmets on, and there's a beautiful shot of the horizon of the ball Earth in the bell thing. But the first image you see is a flat horizon with upturned edges. They then mess around with the camera angles and it forms a ball, and they do that twice. I found that very interesting, but it was noticeable. It was flat with upturned edges and then perverts into a ball.
Oh, hold on. Was this taken
Are you
from
saying
high
Fast and
altitude?
Furious took it to space?
I was going to say, is this a high altitude?
It.
Is it a shot or a CGI composite that they've formed the horizon with? Is the horizon actually a filmed horizon?
It's a composite. It's a reflection in the bell helmet. So you're looking at their face in the diver's helmet, and then you can see the reflection of the ball Earth horizon. I'd say it's a flat horizon with upturned edges at the edge of the bell helmet, in the actual window, in the helmet. Really noticeably flat with upturned edges, and then noticeably goes into the funky Earth curve, but just tries to get there.
Okay, are you implying that the reflection seen in the helmet is somehow a nod to some of the reflections caught in the NASA footage, and also a nod to flat Earth? Is that what you're implying?
Maybe on its own that one isn't, but as they're going up, I forgot the other guy's name, and they've got like rubber gloves on and stuff, for the pressure and stuff. And Roman leaves over to him, what the hell are you doing? He says, I've got a hole in my glove. He says, well, why are you wrapping it with gaffer tape? He says, because everything's held together with gaffer tape. So, yes, I would suggest there is a nod there to NASA, fake space. Few
That's
noticeable
bonkers,
bits.
isn't it?
Yeah.
I mean,
going into space, I can't have a hole in my suit. I've got to wrap it with gaffer tape,
Exactly. Oh, by comparison, I've got a gas leak. Get us the gaffer tape. What? Yeah, we won't die. We won't be releasing flammable gas. We'll just gaffer tape it closed. It'll be fine.
You guys call it duct tape, gaffer tape? Is that what that is?
Gaffer tape. Because you go to the gaffer to get it.
Expensive, so you have to ask for it.
It's not your cheap tape. It's going to be held by somebody and signed out.
I went to Italy to ask for gaffer tape, and they looked at me. You know what it's called there? Chop. American tape.
It's what they used to tape up the Americans with.
Must have been. But yeah, gaffer tape's called American tape.
There was a recent incident where somebody got gaffer taped to a chair in a plane. Has anybody seen that?
I've seen T-Sparks. You know that bloke you sent us with the want to be in the pit crew. Hold up, wait a minute, something ain't right. I've seen his stuff, mate. Of it, it's hilarious that he's.
Yeah, that was a flight attendant on a flight, and they gaffer taped an unruly.
But was that him though? Was he just I thought he was just joking and taking the piss.
No,
that's what he does. He's a comedian, isn't he?
Yeah. No, the T-Spot was the comedic side of it. He just hijacking the news article, weren't they? I mean, some bloke did get taken down, didn't he? But yeah, Nathan shared that with me. That guy is properly hilarious. I love him.
Oh, look at this. I'm getting an invite out to somebody who lives locally. Unitox Femu says, happy birthday. It'd be nice to meet you end of August when my one tea, coffee, drink, food, whatever. I'm paying. Oh, well, I'll definitely take you up on that. If you're paying, steak for me. No, I'm only joking. Thank you very much for the super chat there, Unitox Femu. Yeah, we'll definitely meet up sometime as you're only in Coventry. No doubt. Right. Anybody else got anything to add? Forgot what we were talking about now.
Nobody got a question.
You got a question?
Furious now, mate. It's worth watching. But I'll stop rambling.
Somebody said they had a question. Go ahead.
Well,
Entropy, second law of thermodynamics. That's a natural law, correct? Natural law is a description, right?
Yep.
It doesn't formulate a cause. You don't need a cause.
No, it's not.
It doesn't postulate a cause, even.
No.
Well, so that'd be gravity as well. Natural law.
No. Gravity as a natural law is incorrect because it asserts 9.8 m squared down, right?
Yeah. Yes. Down. Yeah. What it moves the. Yeah.
Right. Well, gas doesn't do that.
Well, you got little g. It pushes out the gases out the way.
We're gonna have to get into this into the after
That'd be
show, aren't we?
buoyancy.
Cool. Okay. Got somebody claiming gravity. That's wonderful. Excuse me. Shout out to Brandon Toy. Thank you very much indeed for the super chat. It says happy birthday. Thank you very much. I really do appreciate it. But with that, I am going to have to say a huge, massive, enormous thank you, first and foremost, to all of you who smashed the super chat. Really do appreciate it. Made my birthday a special one. So really, thank you very much indeed. I do appreciate it. Also, of course, a massive thank you to today's Discord and G+ panels for making today's live show possible. If you are watching this on either Nathan Oakley 1980 or Nathan Oakley premiering streams, then stay tuned as there will be an after show to follow. I've been Nathan Oakley and I will see you all in the next video. Shout out to Chief Brody for hitting the super chat just after the live stream ended. He says, happy birthday, Nathan. Thank you very much indeed again, Chief Brody.
Wait, Adam, they did somehow get the cars into space, right? Like, please tell me they didn't.
They do a Branson. They strap it to the top of the plane.
I knew it. I fucking knew it. Oh my god.
What was the car?
It's a Pontiac, I think. With
Trans Am?
My American cars. I'm sure it's a Pontiac. It's a ropey-looking thing with, like I said, with a huge jet engine and rocket engine. Sorry, strapped to the roof. It's brilliant, honestly, in terms of taking a mick.
Oh my god. I mean, it makes sense because in the last one, I think they were jumping cars from one building to the other. I mean, they do all types of crazy shit, but yeah, it makes sense that they would up the stakes and.
It's the confidence. He just wraps the hole up and goes, "Don't worry, we're going into space. I can't have a hole in my suit. Get some gaffer tape around it." You know what I mean? As if that fixes the problem.
yeah, that fixes everything. Man. Duct tape, Flex Seal.
Vin Diesel didn't want to do that movie. He saw it as a load of garbage, and they kept on trying to appeal to him to do it, and he kept saying no. And eventually, what he negotiated to do that role after he'd done it the first time was the rights to Chronicles of Riddick. So that is owned by Vin Diesel, and the condition to own those rights for a very now unsuccessful franchise was to continue to do the Fast and Furious. So that's why he's doing it, because he got the rights to tell Chronicles of Riddick.
Ah, that makes sense. because that's actually a good series of movies. The Chronicles of Riddick.
I like that series.
I do too.
F9 is kind
Yeah,
of
I do. And you can understand it, right? Because I'm not saying nobody who doesn't like it's not got taste, but you two agree with me. They're good movies, right? Good plots, good space movies too. One of the few that I'd say, I can get into the fantasy role of fantasy idea of it without necessarily getting annoyed with the heliocentric bit, because it's just good stories. I'm not going to bore you with the story of Riddick, but there we go. You can get why he would say, I want that. That's got value to it. That has totally, missed the mark completely, failed on its ass. Nobody's interested. Most people have never heard of the Chronicles of Riddick. Or what's the first one called? Something dark.
Pitch Black.
Pitch Black. That's it. Another super chat after the show finished from Unisoc Swemu. Probably in the panel. Thank you very much, Sasha. There's Akumo Virus, Kosho, Rumpus, Zanuck, Cats, and all the others. Wish you a happy birthday, despite everything.
So which is your favorite?
Favorite what?
Of the 3 movies.
I don't know. I couldn't even tell you what happened in any of them. It's a long time since I watched them.
People like the first one the best, but I like the third and second the best. They're more, I guess, fantasy or something like that. And it's just more cooler, especially like the third one. It's really cool.
I hardly remember the third one. I think I gotta watch it again.
I agree, and it reminds me, since my wife's been watching more and more movies, I've been less and less, I've been more and more indifferent to it all. You know what I mean? The heliocentric program, I'm more and more at peace with it. It doesn't frustrate me or annoy me as much as it used to.
Yeah, because I remember watching the first one. Sorry if it's noisy, I'm at work. But I remember watching the first one and still being in that like heliocentric mind, frame of mind, and being kind of fascinated how that they set it up with like how the movement of the planets would cause an eclipse, like how they had that little device that showed you how the planets in that solar system, quote unquote, were moving, and then she turned it, and then like you see, this is going to cause an eclipse. Like, plus I thought it was pretty cool, like you had like all these bodies in the sky, like from that planet. Like I thought that was cool from a heliocentric standpoint. Still cool. But... And
just the plot of him as a character, he was a prisoner that had part of his eye removed because they were all in perpetual darkness, so it was like a common operation. And then suddenly they're stuck in this situation where it's actually very useful because all these monsters come out when it's dark. That's the basic plot of it, and he can see in the dark.
No, but he said he needed that. He did that because he wanted to see when they were trying to jig him in jail.
Bits of it,
like
bits of it,
see...
bits of it are coming back to me now. We're talking about it, so I think this is in the first one. There's a guy who's sat, and they've not got enough water, and he's got cigars, and they've got like really top quality alcohol, and they're sat around, and he's like drinking this alcohol, and one of them says, "Look, we've got no water. That's going to dehydrate you." And he says words to the effect of, "It's amazing how you can get by without the necessities of life if you've got life's luxuries."
Yeah. Got life's little luxuries. Yep.
Yeah, dying of thirst, but he's there drinking alcohol and smoking a cigar. You're like, yeah, right on.
I'm glad you said that, dying of thirst. I've always wondered if you're stranded in the ocean and you're dying of thirst and you're looking at all that water, but you can't drink it. That must be torturous.
Happy birthday, Nate.
I think people just eventually do drink it.
Well, let's...
Really?
Yeah, we heard you. We just got movies we got to rather discuss than, I guess, Nathan's birthday. I think that's over.
No, I invested to tell him this.
Hey, don't forget the best heliocentric references in the second one, where they're outrunning the sun. Remember, the sun is so strong on that prison planet that it like basically melts the surface of the planet, and evaporates everything. And they have to outrun it because they have to get through the surface to reach the shuttle off the planet. And I thought that was amazing. Like the music,
It was, right?
the flow of it.
It's funny how
that was awesome.
It's funny how that sunrise works, right? Where you got the sunlight just flowing across the ground like that. Very interesting.
Oh yeah.
The best movie is that one with what's his name, Matthew McConaughey, Interstellar. That is the best heliocentric movie you're ever gonna see.
My favorite part of that one was when the teacher sat him down, or he was talking to the teacher, and they brought up the moon landings, and she was like, "Yeah, nah."
He flipped out.
You're like, "Nah, that was some bullshit we put in the books." He's like, "What?"
That's only the best moment on the surface. Now, if you dig deeper, there's even a better moment when they basically tell the world. Can I finish? When they tell the world, "Sorry, we couldn't figure it out because we can't unify gravity. We can't get Newtonian and Einsteinian gravity to work." And then the girl solved it.
Yeah,
That's the best
Eureka!
part. Yeah.
Wow, yeah, there was a whole problem with gravity in that movie.
Yeah,
I gotta
couldn't
watch
solve
that
it.
again.
I know,
That's
right? But
funny.
it's an advanced point. You really need to get some of that in order to see it. The moon landing
Yeah, but
thing is much more.
it's been a
upfront.
long time since I saw that. Like, I don't even. How old is that movie now?
2010.
Yeah, see, I don't think I was a fighter yet when I saw that shit the last time I saw it. So
Yeah, he didn't
that'll be
age at all.
interesting.
He did not age at all. And he came back, and his daughter, who solved gravity and saved the world, was an old lady dying.
It's that time dilation, maybe. I think that's what that whole shit was at the end, right?
Yep.
Somehow he was communicating with the girl, but like, I don't know.
No, that's
spoilers,
an
but-
interdimensional bridge that was created through the Tesseract in these
I didn't understand that
conditions
part.
of extreme gravity dilation, right? So first off, the time bound was basically differentiating because he approached the heavy gravity location, but then eventually there was this transcendent power presumed to be future humanity that would allow a unique timeless communication, right? That's the entire science fiction premise of the end part. It's amazing.
I've got your picture up, Adam. So this
My
is
favorite, Arwen.
just one sec. This is Adam's. What I was discussing earlier about the Fast and the Furious 9.
Yeah.
Oh, it seemed a flat disc with an upturned edge.
What's the
Said by August Picard.
Yeah,
What's the-
exactly. That's what struck me.
What's the
Hang on,
subheading?
that's-
What's the subheading of Fast and the Furious 9?
F9.
Just F9.
F9, the Fast and the Furious 9. Yeah.
The Fast and the Furious. Okay.
Not like Fast in Space or something.
That's what I was. That was what I was fishing for. Exactly.
Furious in space, where nobody can hear you yell.
And no one can hear your turbos.
Your nitrous and your NOS and all that.
Well, they do use that at the end.
He's not in space.
Of course they do.
Do they have special tires in space or just regular ones like Elon Musk?
That's like the jets, right? They so they could get back to Earth. Is that what they used it for?
Is it
now you're gonna make
literally
me watch this, man.
But
Yeah,
is it really a
why-
race in space or is it in a space station or something? What is it?
They get. That's when they get after this bit. You see, they use up all their fuel to save the Earth, to save humanity, because they you know that's what they do. They're fast and they're furious, but in doing so, they're left stranded in space. But luckily, the ISS comes up alongside. That's when they come out of the car, and because you see what he's wearing there, it's like a diving suit. They just, and it's yellow, yeah. So it swells up, and they look like minions. And they're going, I think there's minions outside on the ISS. They're saying as they look at them. So that's how they get rescued. They don't make it back to Earth.
So, Adam, are you saying that at the end, fossil fuel saves the Earth?
Yeah. The thing I like I said, it was noticeable. The first bit is the gaffer tape bit, because they're talking about how nervous they are and there's a whole, and it's so set up to be, say it's tongue in cheek. Do you know what I mean? The whole bit is tongue in cheek, and then when you get, you like say you couple it with that bit, these images, because you've had the gaffer tape, everything's held together with gaffer tape. You know what I mean? So to me, the way they've copied Branson, you know, they take it up on a plane and then it boosts. It is a parody. It's not good, if you know what I mean. And then to put, like, say, this curve in, I'll keep it as a phrase, a frozen frame. But let me just stop for a second, and I'll show you the next clip. Get rid of that.
You think the duct tape is a reference to the lunar lander because the pictures of the LEM have so much duct tape?
Totally. Right. So now it's. So this is the weird thing when you look at it. I don't think you're dealing with.
You're not presenting.
No, I had to put it. I just wanted to see. I've let it. I don't want to let it run, Nathan, at all on your show. So I just freeze frame that I've. So now it's gone higher, look, but we're still at the same point. Let me stop again.
So flat with a bit of upturned
You don't have to stop.
like
Hold on, Alan.
Hold
on. You don't have to stop screen sharing each time. You can just scrub through it. As long as you're not playing it. It's just each time you stop, I have to re-select you.
Right, sorry. I'll
Alright,
share it.
This is no longer common software meat. Okay.
Give me 1 second to like that.
Is this the one you down?
Now look.
Is this the version you? Is this the version you pirated while you were at the cinema with your camcorder?
These are just still shots that I've managed to get off the internet. Honest. That's really good quality. I'll just press play then. Just give me a second.
Yeah, we've just got total silence though.
Wow.
Okay, tell me when I need to be presenting, Adam.
What?
I can't obviously let it play through, but.
Well, I'll gone much too far. Just give it a second. That was just the bit that you saw. I mean, it was just to show you them wobbling it.
So that's literally a car with 2 rockets stuck to the side. Or not?
Yeah. It has extra ones on that it jettisons to get to that height as well, like the space shuttle.
Can you get rid of the clapperboard?
Right.
There we go. What the hell?
Yeah.
I still can't make out what kind of car it is. That's all I wanted to know.
It's a Tesla, of course.
Crashed.
They modified Elon Musk's car.
Crashed, but
I don't know.
I'm surprised they didn't throw that in the movie.
Discord
Like,
is really
look.
excited about seeing these graphics.
Yeah, you can join the main panel if you want, but they're off now anyway. Adam, stop presenting.
I'll show you all properly after the after show, Connor.
Just a CGI horizon in somebody's helmet in a movie.
It's they've chose to portray that, haven't they? That's the point. And at no point, yeah, I mean that's really flat at one point. You know, we totally upturned edge. And I know they can artistically say it's them representing it in the diver's helmet, but it's a very interesting choice to do. They could have just done a shot of their ball Earth, couldn't they? They didn't have to reflect it in the helmet and make it look flat with an excuse. I thought it was I say, coupled with the first bit, taking a mick with a gaffer tape, it just...
No, but that's the perfect way to do it, actually. Why? Because you're literally looking at a ball helmet, right? So the ball's already there. It doesn't matter if whatever's reflected in it looks flat. So that works perfectly fine. You're already seeing a ball, right?
Arwin was saying
I
earlier
see a lot of sci-fi do this, by the way, doing the reflection on the helmet thing. The CGI really does that well these days. So they make for beautiful shots.
That's the other point. Oh, I forgot to mention that. Is that a nod to what they did with the Tesla in space? Because that was all doing clever reflections, wasn't it? They're just demonstrating they've got the CGI technology to... I mean, that looked really good. Better than Tesla's stuff.
Yeah.
So there's been some suggestion that you might be a shill by Arwin because of your apologetics for Kosho yesterday, Kiwi.
Yeah. Shilling for Kosho.
Hurricane Kosho. Terrorist sympathizer.
You didn't listen to my rationale, obviously.
I did. It was just his sheer stupidity. What was it? Whose razor was it? Just because...
Hamlin's
razor.
Just completely dumb. Yeah. They're really
Don't
kind.
ascribe to malice, which could be easily ascribed to stupidity.
That was it.
Must be an American thing.
Yeah, but what if it's both malice and stupidity? You know?
Then it's a close shave.
Well, it's funny how when he said, "What if we both agreed?" how Cum Virus jumped right on that.
Then Kosho, from what I hear, got his ass handed to him again. This time by a gentleman that I ran into a couple years ago. He heard me talking, I think, on 24/7. Turns out he's a Marine sniper.
Uh-oh.
Yeah. Uh-oh.
Shit just got real.
Nah, you need that to be done in
They can talk
Scooby-Doo.
about it. I wasn't in here, but I seen the Marine sniper in here later, and they were talking about it.
And presumably he confirmed that obviously he has to track targets because Earth turned beneath bullets that he'd fired in the past, right?
Yeah, he didn't confirm that shit. He said it straight.
And did Kosho tell him he didn't understand?
I don't know. I wasn't in here. Somebody told me. Don, did he say that the Marine sniper didn't understand?
That'd
yeah.
be fantastic. Yeah.
Did he say he didn't read the manual?
He has the manual. I'm not aware of that part, but I know he said, well, he doesn't know what he's talking about. I heard that.
Yo, the balls.
Does the
on these
manual
people,
tell him how
bro.
to adjust to this Coriolis?
No, he was saying that it's not in the manual, if I'm not mistaken. The one he had, if I'm not mistaken.
It's
Oh, I
not in
see.
any manual.
Oh,
Not
no,
in
that's
his
not
sniper
reasonable.
manual.
Well done.
Yeah.
The manual is irregardless of the manual, right? I've been trying to tell you guys for how long, right? But you won't take my word for it or my experience, right? Well, now we got a Marine sniper, certifiable. You can take that to the damn bank. You might be hearing from him come tomorrow.
I don't think they use the manual to work out how to shoot, do they?
No, they don't.
I'm pretty sure the manual that Kosho's got that says we do have to account for Coriolis would supersede both the experience of the Marine sniper and his manual that doesn't have it in. I'm pretty sure it supersedes it.
So if they don't use a manual to realign, are snipers like pigeons then, and they've got magnets in their head so they know what their alignment is and automatically adjust? Or do they just not bother because it's not necessary?
Well, that's something that, obviously, if the Marine sniper was on the anti-flat Earth side of this argument, he'd be saying, of course I don't have to track my target. Earth's not turning underneath anything. Right? And then he could go to Neil deGrasse Tyson and say, you know, you saying that balls are going to drift through goalposts because Earth's turning beneath them. I assure you, as a sniper, I'd need to account for that, wouldn't I? Yeah?
You'd have to account for it if you were a pilot of a plane.
What did deGrasse Tyson say it was? 1/3 of an inch deflection to the right? You're a sniper. That's the difference between killing your target and not killing your target. So I'm pretty sure they'd need to account for that.
I had a good idea.
Over much bigger distances than a football field.
Indeed.
No. I have a good idea. Let's get a little paintball activity with these anti-flat earthers. Let them use their way with earth spin and accounting for things. And let's see who wins the paintball contest.
They'd still brush that thing aside.
I could just see it now. Kosho's got Nathan in his sight, and he starts accounting for all of these things, and here comes Huey with his shot. Bye-bye, Kosho.
That was a video game, and you're in the video game, and you're lining up your shot, and then you're like, oh, shit, got to get my calculator out and start figuring out the Coriolis deviation I'm going to experience in this very realistic first-person shooter. And while you're thinking about that, someone comes up behind you and snaps your neck, and then sits on your face.
Yeah.
Coriolis deviation in snipering is a pure straw man, because it's all about just wind. That's it. They just account for wind. That's it. You have to size up the wind, and that's it.
No,
you gotta count. You gotta count for
and
drop
distance.
too.
No, let's cause lots of discord.
Velocity as well.
Okay, everyone calm down. Who said no first? Look, I know you're all lining up to batter Arwin. Who's first?
No, it's not worth it.
What did I say wrong?
Well, I mean, if I would...
You said... Okay, I'll go first. He said it was just wind. It's more than just wind. It's distance, it's velocity, because the bullet will start slowing down, so you have to use the trajectory, all kinds of stuff.
Yeah, duh. Distance. Yeah,
well,
sorry,
yeah,
I didn't say that first.
Duh. How can you say that when you said it's only wind?
Hello, can you just let Arwin tell you he meant to say all of that and just didn't, and therefore he's right anyway? Can you just let him say it, please?
Yes, exactly. He gets it, right? No, I specifically meant like a horizontal deviation, right? Of course, you're gonna aim a little higher because it's further away, etc. Yeah, I've actually done.
Okay, thank you. That is also a fundy tactic. So they don't know the answer to something. They ask you to define it, and then they say, "Yeah, that's exactly what I said."
You are talking Arwin here.
Well, if Arwin wants to talk, he's got to shoot straight.
Well,
I'm
if I can
sorry
add
how
to
I
it,
told everybody that you don't account for
Okay.
Coriolis with
Thank
shooting.
you. Just one sec.
I'm
Somebody's trying to
sorry.
get a word in. He was trying to get in earlier. Whoever that was, go ahead.
yeah, well, yesterday when the sergeant came in, Rumpus was here. He was also making a little jab at him as well, but he conceded to the I use an example of the battleship, how it has a 16-inch cannon, and it can get up to about the range about 25 miles. So I set up an idea spot for him that we can triangulate it, right? The hypotenuse where you would have to lead the trajectory. Well, he calls it a shell, Rumpus. That you would have to lead it about 33 degrees. The Earth would rotate roughly around 8 miles. You would have to lead it. He disagreed with me for a very long time, and then agreed with me, then turned around and disagreed with me, then agreed with me. It's very confusing with that guy.
Yeah, no, that is the training that's involved in terms of detailing anything Coriolis, which is to flip-flop back and forth between 1 and 2 reference frames. That's why I'm currently cementing the position on particular individuals with quotes they make.
Yeah, that battleship was a great example because it's about a 1-ton bullet. In about 90 seconds, it would hit the target about up to 20 20 miles. I set up a lighthouse. Sorry about that. I set up a lighthouse 20. So if he's out in the ocean, and from the ship to the bay, 25 miles, the lighthouse, we're gonna shoot that, right? So I'm gonna triangulate it. I'm gonna set up the hypotenuse so it's 25 miles. You got a squared plus b squared equals c squared, and I'll get your hypotenuse where you will need to lead the trajectory or the shell. And I got around about 33 degrees, which you would need to lead the bullet 8 miles to hit the target.
Lead the target. I know what you meant, but yes, you'd have to go ahead of it so that when it met it, the ground that's rotated it towards the trajectory meets at the intersection point. In other words, you've got to lead the target because it's apparently moving after the bullet leaves the ground. Well, yeah, you'd have to factor that in. Nobody is. Obviously, Earth's not turning underneath, which will result in rumpus going back and forth between, oh yes, they track the target. Well, no, they don't need to track the target. Or, well, they track the target, but it's only if they're moving north, to they don't need to track the target, to they need to track the target. He'll just go around in those circles all day long.
Right, I set it up at a perfect spot. I set at the equator, you know, east to west, going against the, you know, it was great.
Well, in American football, the quarterback can throw a straight ball to a receiver who does a button hook. It's a play where he just runs straight and turns around and stands his ground. But if the receiver's got a pattern to run, that's when he's got to lead them because the receiver is running. And the quarterback has to assess where he's got to throw it. So by the time the ball gets there, receiver is there. So we would see this all the time because in the button hook, obviously the receiver just went straight and stopped. Well, does the quarterback lead him because he's got to throw it to the side because by the time the ball gets there, the earth moved them? No.
So ridiculous, man. Can't believe people really think this shit is going on in real life. It's unreal.
It's not given any second thought. You know, if you're told by NDT that the goal was scored because there was a deflection, well, then you just go, okay, he's talking about Earth rotation. He says there's a deflection. Why would I challenge it? Why would I think that he's got any ulterior motive other than to tell me what he's calculated as occurring because we have Coriolis effects? And then you get on with your day. Whereas the people on the anti-flat Earth side come into the arena, this arena, and get trained on how to flip-flop between a single reference frame and 2 reference frames. Drift under a gyro, drift under a pendulum, drift under a bullet, drift under a ball. What's that you say? No, 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 no. No drift under planes. No drift under hot air balloons. No drift under drones. No drift under you if you jump up and down. What's that you say? Tracking targets. Yeah, drift under bullets, drift under gyro, and so it goes on. Back and forth they go.
Right. Well, I think the video that Kiwi has would be kind of cool to bring on with that drone in an inertial reference frame, where it also shows the moon and the stars, if I'm not mistaken, showing no parallax as well.
I don't think it has to be described as being in an inertial reference frame, right? Because other than you just observing it, but to imply that it needs to be described as being in an inertial reference frame isn't required if you haven't got any movement to begin with. So, you know, it takes off the ground and just goes up. I don't know what's the requirement for describing it as being in a particular reference frame, unless you're going to track its coordinates as it moves up. What's the purpose?
Well, you know what they say about
maybe he's
frames.
talking about the footage of the moon and the stars still moving.
Yes.
While this
parallax
drone is in the.
What I'm trying to get across is, if you describe that, okay, so drone takes off, it films the stars, and the stars move. Yeah. Now, it's back to like, do I have to explain why the lighthouse is being seen too far? No. Do I have to explain why, if you take off in a drone, the lights in the sky continue to move as they did when it was on the ground? Does that need an explanation? No. So what's the point of using a reference frame description? If you say when it takes off, it enters the inertial reference frame? Well, okay, like I say, unless you're wanting to particularly calculate something about how it moves from A to B in that described then as a reference frame, what's the point of describing it in that way? We don't actually have any requirement to do that, is my point. When I say to the opponent, I don't have any need for reference frames, I'm trying to find out if you're saying, no, we do, because, well, what's the reason?
Well, their reasoning is, it's like when you have to calculate the motion of objects, let's say on a ship that's moving in the ocean, and you're inside, maybe throwing a dart. Kosho gave that example yesterday.
No, I get that.
And the only way to describe it is
hold on. You've missed my question. My question is, for us, if you're a flatty, you and I, what requirement do we have for reference frames? Because I know I'm asking you, just before you answer, my point is, you immediately jumped into, well, they need them because, so what? So because they need them, you need them because you're going to be debunking what they need? Is that, if that's the only reason, my question still remains, is there any circumstance that someone can give me that we need them?
No, I completely 100% agree. I mean, that's exactly what I told Kosho last night. I told him, as a flat earther, we don't need reference frames. I mean, in your worldview.
Hold on a second. You have to demonstrate, right, that even in their paradigm, if there was a non-inertial rotating reference frame and an inertial reference frame, you could destroy that real easy by sending the drone up in the inertial reference frame. As soon as those stars or moons start moving, it's fucking over to anyone that can fog a mirror. It's over real quick.
There you go.
Wrap.
Yeah, you're disproving their claim that the drone enters an inertial reference frame. I get that.
No, you're disproving their claim that the Earth's spinning.
Yeah, I get that. But when it moves,
they also weasel by saying you don't enter reference frames. I mean, things are in all reference frames. I'm sure you heard that one before.
Sure.
No,
it's just a way to describe things. Right? Describe motion.
Go ahead, Nathan.
Well, I was just going to say, but for the fact that you've got an assertion that we're on an rotating non-inertial reference frame, and because of which you're going to be watching something occur as it travels through the inertial reference frame. But for that claim, I'm asking, when we describe it, so forget all debates in terms of anti-flat earth or globe earth, so forget the fact that it's claimed only one reference frame and conservation of momentum, and forget that they claim earth turns beneath this drone. So ignoring all of that, you personally, QE, describe a drone hovering and filming stars. Now, in that description, outside of any debate, do you require reference frames to give that description?
No.
That's my point. That's all I'm trying to make. It's put on us. The reason I'm making this point, in case it's not clear, because there's a long silence, nobody's gone, oh yeah, of course, is because instantly there's a feeling on our side, flat earth side, that we suddenly have to start detailing and describing how a reference frame works and why the reference frame is the way it is, or is giving the effect it gives. And I'm trying to communicate across to the audience that the only reason that happens is because they need the claim that's been debunked to become our claim. So as soon as you get into arguing about, and I've done this myself, I'm guilty as anybody, get into arguing about how the reference frames work, you've almost instantly lost because you're conceding that there are some to be argued about. And as a flat earther, you don't need them. So for the longest part, I'm like, how do I get around this? And you go, well, the declaration that we don't need them in any way, shape or form means that I don't have to defend them anymore. Well, who's got the two different sides of this argument then? Well, it's anti-flat earthers, one reference frame, and globe believers, two reference frames. Separate us out of it. Rather than having the position where it's constantly put on us to argue about how their reference frames should work according to us. Like, yeah, that's a nice way of making it convoluted enough for us to argue about it, and every position that's being argued is about reference frames. So why? Why are you taking a positive position to convince the opponent that they should be claiming two reference frames while they spend all day arguing about how they've got one? Or them claiming you've got one, and you pointing out that if they've got the actual two that they've got, flights would be shortened, all this sort of stuff. It's like, if you understand from the off that you don't need any reference frames, you don't have to start defending them or demanding that they accept the position they should have, because both are a lose-lose for a flat earther.
Well, I'm not sure who's talking about reference frames. All I know is that you need to ask them why those things are still moving while the thing that's filming them is not on the thing that causes them to move. Right? The only reason those things are supposed to be moving is because we're on a rotating ball.
But we're not.
This drone isn't on a rotating ball, and those things are still moving.
Yeah. I think you get it. QE said what? Which was sarcastic, just to poke fun at my very lengthy explanation that could have been a lot more concise. Or he doesn't get it. Which one is it?
Well, it just puts it to bed, really. And I get your point,
to know
Nathan.
if QE's
Yeah,
actually
it's a great point.
criticising. Are you actually being critical, or are you just sarcastic with that what?
I was being both.
Okay. Let me just have QE's ear for a minute. You know when people would say, why can we see this clock?
Yeah.
And then you suddenly have the flat earther being apologetic for how it does or doesn't match up with a calculator. And then from there on in, they've basically lost no matter which way that argument goes. I see too far because blah, 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 and the Earth curve isn't in the way or is in the way. You're automatically begging the question once you're into that argument. And I'm saying likewise, as a flatty, as soon as you start either advocating for the actual globe claim of 2 reference frames or defending the claim that they actually make with 2 reference frames, shortened flight times, etc., you're on a lose-lose, because suddenly they'll either position you to be the one that's got it wrong about reference frames and what the globe claims, or you don't understand how the example works with 2 reference frames. In other words, you're always going to be fighting a position where you're either convincing the opponent to take the position that the globe takes, or pointing out to the person who does take the globe position how it doesn't work. When you don't have a horse in this race. Why do you have to explain why you see the clock? As a flat earther, you don't actually have to make an explanation. I'm not saying we won't get into these debates, or this is somehow a way of getting out of a debate when someone brings it up, because they will. But I'm saying, to get the right mindset, when you see the clock in the distance, you don't have to justify why you see it as a flat earther. It's just a clock. And likewise, when a drone takes off and looks at the stars moving, you don't have to justify why the ground isn't moving beneath it, or why the ground is moving with the atmosphere moving with it. You don't have to do any of that. No explanation's actually required at all as a flatty. But these arguments get repositioned to make us the bad guy.
You done?
2 more sentences? No, yeah, I'm done.
Yeah, so I take a little bit different viewpoint. See, I'm the prosecutor, and the jury and the people in the audience really don't know what they don't know. So I have to entertain their scenario, their story. So I put their story on trial, and then I show them how their story's bunk. That's why.
Yeah, I
Same
mean,
here.
they hold 2 contradicting positions.
Yeah, I'm not concerned
Coriolis.
about that. I'm not concerned about that. If they have problems with their reference frames, I could really give a shit less. It is what it is, right? You have a non-inertial and inertial. I can't educate everyone. However, I can take their story, not their story, but the heliocentric model story. It's on trial. So I put that up as an example, as a scenario, and then pummel it to death.
But I'm not claiming that. I'm now Glober. I'm claiming we shouldn't see Earth turning underneath hot air balloons, because I'm blue marble. Earth doesn't turn underneath. You just don't
I can do nothing
understand.
for your numpty.
You don't understand. I'm not a numpty. You don't
that's
understand
right.
Coriolis.
Well, I don't really care. I'm presenting my case to the jury and the audience, and they will understand.
They'll understand me when I tell them that you don't understand, because they'll just find.
Oh, that's good. They're going to listen. Yeah, really. Then I'll just take them down another road and then embarrass them. Like, what's a scientific hypothesis? And then I'll show them there's numptiness over and over and over again, and then I'll go back to my original story and pummel that.
Well, another funny thing is when they say you don't expect Earth to be turning beneath things. They do that by invoking conservation of momentum, right? Which is, again, you're invoking a second reference frame by doing that, and they don't realize that, right?
Yep.
Has nothing to do with Coriolis, though.
Someone paid attention to Quantum Racer's presentation.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely correct. Whoever said that.
Oh, and by the way, you need thumbnails, man.
Do you not like my happy birthday one Adam made?
No, I heard some birdie complaining that he had to make an extra thumbnail. I can give you the thumbnails for those mirrors.
I wasn't complaining about that. I was complaining about lack of time. I was saying that, oh, see how you've drawn that connection now. No, I'm saying, right now, I'm not going to turn my camera on. I've got my iPad in front of me, right? And once the show finishes, typically, if it wasn't my birthday, I'd be into making the thumbnail now because there's no other there's not enough hours in the day. So to squeeze it in, I mean, I could be mirroring your video now, you know, while I'm doing a show. Do you see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
He's being a wise ass.
I'll be honest, right? Doing the show is actually a little bit of a break for me. Still very hard work. Don't get the wrong idea. Smash the super chat.
Push the buttons.
Ooh, this means we're gonna make you work even harder, Nathan.
Oh yeah.
Nah, not really.
Oh well, the ones I like, I do get around to mirroring because I want to. That's why I assume you've hinted at it because I was there while you were doing the editing and I was making comments on the volume levels and such like, and you're like, well, you should be mirroring this, right? I assume that's your train of thought.
No.
All right.
Did you guys see the new Eric DeBay video?
Hold on a second. We're into a discussion right here. This is important stuff.
How dare you talk about Eric DeBay and his flat Earth stuff that's totally relevant to the show? We're talking shop here,
right?
Well,
I want to know if we're going through the scientific method.
Guys, can you stop rumpusing this very important shop talk?
Yeah. There's a time and a place for everything. You could have waited just a couple seconds. It would have been over. But there was a pregnant pause there. That he was unsure what my motives were. Here's my thought process. I thought I said this in the beginning. If they're a signature numpty clep, they need to be mirrored.
I see.
There's only a few of them. I understand the workload, so there's only going to be a handful, maybe 2 handfuls.
There's going to be a lot of
anxious
people.
Is that a funhouse mirroring?
Hold on. There's going to be a lot of anxious people now, knowing that DeBay's been mentioned, that wants to know what we want to talk about with DeBay. So, do you want to ask your question?
DeBay,
again?
what's he saying? Well, he put out this really interesting video about density and relative density, why things rise and fall. And it's pretty interesting. He talks about density being the inherent property of matter rather than it being mass.
What's
it's
mass?
Just a very well. I understand that argument that mass is poorly defined, if defined at all. But it's a pretty interesting video. I mean, give it a watch.
Did he mention mass?
Well, he mentioned mass as being wrongly and poorly defined also, but he just he shows a really good way of showing it mathematically, the equation showing it to match reality better, and showing the relative density as a way of determining things, why things go up or down, right? I mean, give it a watch. It's interesting.
Yeah, give it a watch. He's going to run into a problem, though, in the end.
So, you know, he's pretty good at covering all bases.
Presupposition, huh?
The last couple of Eric DeBay videos I've watched, he's covered more bases than he has done in his past videos. So, I don't know. I've got less and less issues with DeBay the more videos I watch from him that are recent.
Well, he mentioned anti-flat earthers.
This is my personal view. I mean, he's shown the best way of using relative density that I've heard of in the past 5 years. It's interesting to watch. I mean,
maybe I'll take a watch of it then.
Yeah.
All right.
There's generally not a great deal wrong with Eric DeBay's information, right? Yes, he has some outlandish views sometimes, and he loses channels over them. So I'm not even going to comment on that. You know, he's his own worst enemy when it comes to some of his views that are against the terms of service of YouTube. That's his problem. However, in the past, whenever I've watched some of his stuff, he's then gone schizo on some particular individual in what used to be deemed by me as the Flat Earth community. And you'd be like, oh, wow, no need. And you'd be like, oh, this puts me off. Him. Not his information. So I've never really had that much of an issue with anything he puts out. But he likes calling people shills and stuff like that. So, which is a shame.
Yeah. Or Jesus fake.
Yeah, I was almost...
Yeah, that's annoying.
Well, I almost watched that video. That was one that came out in the last week. And I just thought, why? Why am I going to watch this, right? It's going to annoy me. I'm not even a Christian, and it's going to annoy me. So I thought, I won't watch it. Why? Why watch it and then have something negative to say against him? There's just no point.
Yeah, I got a better idea. Are we doing a scientific method tomorrow?
Yes. Oh, by the way,
excellent.
I forgot to tell you. We don't get our quality time anymore, so it's no surprise. I think I might have told you that I'm not going to piecemeal it. We're just going to do the whole damn thing.
I mentioned that yesterday.
Okay.
Should I leave it to the last minute to tell you I've got guests tomorrow? Or should I tell you now? I'll leave it to the last minute.
You got what tomorrow?
Nothing. I'll tell you at the last minute.
Can I revert it back to Eric DeBay?
I've got to come clean now.
Posted that video, Arwin.
Now, this is where I've got to
come clean.
Got a dilemma now. I've either got to embrace Arwin's segue away from what I've just said, or completely come clean and explain. Go ahead, Arwin.
Go ahead, Arwin.
All right. Now, I know that me suddenly speaking up about something new is a great motivation to suddenly double down on whatever you were doubting to say right before that. I know how that works here. But now I just wanted to address Eric DeBay's, well, what I call Christ allergies, right? Because there are issues with Jesus Christ, with opinions about it, with certain chants made that are very, very widespread among a lot of people, right? Especially those that don't really study the details of the Bible and the path of Christ. But yeah, he's Christ allergic, right? So he just can't say anything positive about it, really, right? It's very difficult if you have Christ allergies to do that, right? That doesn't mean he's like a Satanist. It's just that he will have issues with, well, where there are issues. I have issues with Christianity, with how people have dealt with it, with the priesthoods and their chants that contradict Christ's teachings, right? And a lot of people express that in kind of a permanent Christ allergy. But you don't have to express that, right? I have criticism upon Christianity and Christians all the time, and I even get into conflicts with certain people that ban me afterward. But yeah, Nathan still can follow my show. I know he's like raised Catholic, sort of, right? Was it Catholic?
It's Christian.
I'm lost here.
And
what's
I'm lost.
Criticize
I'm lost
it without
too.
just saying it's fake. It's fake. It's all made up.
Owen, what? I'm lost. I'm not having a go. I'm lost. What's his view of Christ got to do with anything he presents with regards to flat Earth? I'm not asked what Neil deGrasse Tyson thinks about Jesus.
Nah, but nobody cares.
No, but that's what I'm saying. What's it got to like?
Because we care. People care about Christ.
Spiritual advice, but he's a great listing and repeating other people's work. He's a great source of flat Earth. In fact, I don't use him for that. I wouldn't, and that wouldn't create a problem for me using any of his stuff he cites. His review of Christ is irrelevant, surely. Like I said, like Neil deGrasse Tyson, so I don't care what he thinks.
No, it's not irrelevant.
Yeah, it is.
Well, that's why I'm asking why.
Yeah, I would agree with Arwen.
Because truth. Because
hold on.
Because the dwelling of mankind.
Hello?
Because Christ revealed the pattern of how too much information, too true, too soon, too close, brings out the devil in people, right? How it actually does all that. We face the effect that Christ has talked about, that has tried to help humanity, the consciousness itself, on how to realize and deal with it. We face these effects. Christ is very relevant to flat Earth psychologically.
I didn't say
it's all about truth.
I asked what do Bayes' viewpoint on Christ has got to do with his citing him for density and buoyancy.
Well, it's just an obvious obstacle. If you have
It's
Christ
not obvious to me.
can I answer? Can I answer? Ask a really, really heavy question.
Yeah, calm down.
Answer in full.
All right, I've got to step in. Right, hold on. Actually, Arwen, he asked a leading question that looked for a mild affirmation so he could go on. So I'm going to side with Adam and go ahead, Adam. I'm sorry, Arwen.
I'm not having a go. I'm just asking you to clarify that point. You then responded as if I knew what the point is. I'm asking you to explain what that obstacle is, not carry on with the assumption that I know it. I don't. That's why I'm asking.
It proves a lack of insight. If you have Christ allergy, that means something is blocked, that this allows you to see the existential fractal nature of everything that he discussed and revealed to humanity in order to compare that insight structure with what we deal with right here, right now. That's why.
Nice.
So you're saying nothing really, just from a viewpoint of him as a whole person, that Christ-ish allergy you say he has, that weights your bias against everything he's saying a little bit.
Well, if you let something like that obstruct you from gathering insights in the place where there is obvious a lot of insights, then that means that you let your ego block your insights. You let the obstacle be there and you accept it as an obstacle to allow you to not move beyond it.
What?
Okay.
I definitely understand.
Hold on. Everyone calm down. All he's saying is he's actually paralleling what I'm saying, so I've got no really right to not side with Arwen on this, because I've just said it sways my view because he occasionally attacks people, and you're being asked that same question. So you're saying what did you call it? Christ affliction, whatever you described it
Christ
as.
allergy.
Is Christ allergy? Is it just affecting you in terms of how you take his view? And I think your answer is to say, well, no, I see it as affecting anybody who comes across his way, and that will affect their view, which isn't exactly answering Adam's question.
Well, it won't help them overcome it, right? It just enables it. When you express Christ allergy, then those that follow you, you enable them to accept that is normal, that is the normal response.
Yeah, that's what I got from what you said, but I don't think that answers Adam's question.
Oh.
Yes,
okay.
because Jesus said, "Be of good cheer. I have overcome the world."
Mm.
Ooh.
Nice.
Well, there you go.
Well, my concern is that, in the same way Arwen's saying it, what I think of is the people who will be sympathetic for his information in regards to the flat Earth, and then come across a video about Christianity and be deeply offended by it. You're like, obviously, you can't help that. People are going to have different opinions. But, I don't know if Adam will agree with me on this one, you chew the meat, you spit out the bones, and, that's down to you as an individual. Now, if people say, oh, I didn't know he was like that, it's like, well, now you do. Take it or leave it from here on in.
Discernment.
I agree with that. I agree. I apply that, but I will have to make note of it, right? Publicly.
He's on the naughty list.
Yes, he is.
It just feels like you're venerating him a bit. That his viewpoint on Christ is relevant to how we perceive, because it's opposing yours. It's. Are you saying this is what I'm struggling on? Are you saying because of this viewpoint that you are more suspicious of his work or have less faith in what he's written, or this is what I don't understand. Unless you're venerating him in another way and holding him, like with regards to his viewpoint on Christ, that, you know what I mean? I don't see how that viewpoint affects flat Earth.
It shows me he has Christ allergy, which means his spirit is underdeveloped. Sorry, I can't say it any other way. I'm not going to talk percentages.
Right. So with that, does that mean you treat his data, anything he disseminates, differently?
Yes.
Yeah. Well, that was my question.
If I may take a jab at it.
Have to look out for it.
Guys, now you've you came to a conclusion. Now Don's seen that as an opportunity to ask something, so fine. Oh, okay.
No, I agree with you, R1, 100%. No, that's why I'm taking a jab at it. I see it the same way. It's surface level truth. You know, those that are in the fallen away have that surface level truth. Now you can take it or leave it, right, and move on. But deep, commitment truth, from within is a different story, right? You observe it, you see what they have, but you're wary of it. Is that where you're getting at?
Yes, but in this specific example with Christ allergy, I will, when I notice that somebody has that, I will have to look through everything they say on a subconscious level. So not literally even thinking about the subject they're trying to communicate, but just on how in the backdrop, before all that, they treated all information and allowed the Christ allergy to filter out certain details because they thought it was insignificant, because they thought it would just emphasize what they see as a lie instead of letting the information go outside of their own understanding.
Right?
I think you're being too presumptive, and you're just looking into this. You're making something of nothing.
No, he's exercising good discernment.
That's kind of why I said, what?
Nah, I don't agree.
Everyone.
No, he's exercising discernment, and that's his version of discernment. That's all it is.
Yeah, I wasn't criticizing you, Owen, in any way. I was just trying to comprehend your point. I wasn't being critical of it.
Oh, no, don't mistake my slightly more loud than normal voice for being angry. I'm just being very enthusiastic because this is a very important subject to me.
Okay, calm down.
Rawr!
Stop being so triggered.
Christ's an important topic to us all, or most of us, yeah? And that's why, respectfully, I wouldn't go to debate for enlightenment there, yeah? Neither would I go to Santos Bonacci for it. But I respect their opinion to hold their opinion on it. You know?
That's a good parallel. Exactly. There are certain things that Santos has to offer that are exceptional, like second to none. However, that isn't one of them. And again, you chew the meat, you spit out the bones. Now I know Adam had an encounter with him on that level, and again, on the spot, very difficult position to be in. Him and his co-hosts at the time had to exercise their discernment on the spot with the guest there, and they did.
Yeah, I asked him to leave. That was on Christ because he was denying with James constantly. James was talking Christ with the language of Christ being real, and he kept picking up on it. And that, you see, is rude. That's another person's belief. And after he went, oh, he would get that expletive off the show or I'm off. I just said it was probably most appropriate that he left. Discernment. But but I'd still take stuff. That doesn't mean I don't respect his opinion on other things, and I wouldn't hold him where he is brilliant. But you know, Christ's a very individual thing to a lot of people and very emotive.
Yeah, but it's also
most of the world. If I only wanted to listen to people on other things, if their Christ opinion agreed with mine, that would limit me somewhat. So I like to say to put it to one side.
Can I add something?
Well, make no mistake, Christ is king, and it
just let
will
Alwyn
be
get his
revealed.
words. Yes. Hello. Just let Alwyn get it out. He's getting frustrated. Go ahead, Alwyn.
Yeah, it's not just about opinions of Christ and whether he existed or not, or what he exactly did. It's about what it does to the individual and what that stance It'll determine a lot of where they go in their life. This is what I know. I know this. Like, and a lot of people do that. Like, when you have Christ in your life in a minor way, in a major way, it influences you a lot. So if somebody has Christ allergies or really, really bad Christ allergies, it's going to have an influence on their overall output and development, right? So it is kind of important like that.
Yeah, that's been clear. You made that point very, very clear.
Okay.
Okay, I just want to say that. I got something to add. That when we started the discussion, Nathan was being facetious by saying, "Go ahead, Arwen." Just wanted to let you know.
I don't care.
At the beginning of the discussion, he was being facetious. He's just trying to get out of trying to tell us why he's got guests on Saturday and he might not be there.
And with that, I'm going to say a huge, massive, enormous thank you to both Discord and G+ panels for making today's after show possible. And of course, a massive thank you to all of you in either Nathan Oakley 1980 or Nathan Oakley Premiering streams for hopefully smashing the super chat, liking, commenting, sharing, subscribing, hitting the PayPal link, and all that good stuff. Also below this video, you can get £50 for swapping your UK electricity supplier to Octopus Energy. I've been Nathan Oakley, and I will see you all in the next video.